Welcome back to the Gilbertson Aero Factory. Today is Thursday, the 19th of December, 2024. Middle of the afternoon. I've got a couple of hours before I need to hit the road for an event. At any rate, you can see that I have both the flaps here all clecoed together. It took a while to get to this point, and there's still quite a bit of work left to do. So today, in the short amount of time that I have, I'll focus on getting these all final size drilled, the skins to the spars and whatnot, and then also getting these little spacers that we fabricated, meaning we cut little rectangles out, getting these installed right here underneath this spot where the top skin wraps around and meets up with the bottom skin. Anyways, yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. I think this is the part where I say, let's build an airplane.
Okay, first things first about the audio. Yesterday in the previous video, there was a bunch of dog barking noise, and so I filtered that out. But today it was airplane noise. Airplane noise is always good. I'm not saying I don't love dogs, because I do. Just that the noise they make isn't one of the things I love about them. Whereas airplanes, the noise they make, that's one of the things I love about them. And someday, this airplane that's on my workbench will probably make noise too, and I'm excited about that. So today was even a shorter work session than I had expected, because the meeting that I had to go to was earlier than I had thought. So at the end of the video, you might see me kind of quickly rushing out when I get a calendar reminder on my phone telling me that the event that is 40 minutes away starts in 10 minutes. So that is not typical of me. I am late for anything once every 3 to 5 years, maybe. I'm compulsively early, but this was, a brain fart from a guy who's trying to build an airplane. So, yeah, to begin, it is a fair amount of time just doing the Cleco shuffle to do the final size drilling these skins to the spar and the ribs. One thing, at least that I think is notable, is when you read the instructions, it says to drill the skins, the top skin on the top side to the rib and spar before flipping it over and then drilling the bottom side. And the language there leads me to believe that particular part of the instructions is much older, because I think that language in the instructions dates before this kit was pre-punched. I did it in the order that they said, but yeah, there's something about the way that it's worded that has me thinking that that at least that particular paragraph of the instructions thinks that you are building this similarly to like an RV-6, where you just get blank material. Which, by the way, I was saying in a previous video how nerve-wracking for me doing the piano hinges was, because they are blank material and you have to get these things fitted correctly and drilling the holes and everything. You know what? If I were building an RV-6, that would be how every operation was during the entire build. It would just not be a thing. I am technically on the calendar now 2 years into this build, but in all reality, I had 2 very long breaks, one related to just kind of sitting on my hands waiting for the laser cut parts thing to shake itself out, and that was a 5-month break. And then I got back to building for maybe 2 weeks, and then a 6-month break for work. And then in the first year, there were 4 separate breaks of at least 2 to 3, sometimes 4 weeks at a time. So of my 2 years since I began the build, I have a total of maybe 8 or 10 months where I'm actively, I'd say 10 months of actively being in the shop kind of on a regular basis. And like I said, I think that at the end of today's work, I'm somewhere in the high 560s for the total time put in. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm doing here. So I flipped it over, and at the very beginning of the construction of the flaps, you have to make these little spacers because that last section where the top skin wraps around to the bottom of the flap and meets along that long rivet row. There's nothing. It's just the top skin on the rib, but then the top skin overlaps the bottom skin, so that you need a spacer to kind of fill the void, since there isn't an overlap in that little 1 7/8 inch stretch for those last 2 rivet holes. So you made some blank spacers to put in there, and it is a little bit tricky trying to get those things placed to match drill to the skin. I think that when I get into the shop later today, I'll explain it here, but I'll show it later. The near side that you're looking at, this is the outboard edge of the flap. Right there, that spacer sits basically flush with the edge of the skin. The flange of the spar is out toward us, and so the flange and the skin are flush to each other. And so dropping that little spacer in there isn't that difficult, but it is kind of, because it's really easy to get it to scoop past and drop inside, and a little bit of struggle bus. The other end of it, the inboard end, the skin sits, it kind of flares out. There's some extra skin there that you leave until you fit this thing to the fuselage and find out what the final line is going to be. So on that side, it sits 2.5, maybe 3 inches or more away from that rivet line, and it really is tricky to try to get those little shims in there and kind of held in place so you can match drill them. What I ended up doing after struggling with it a little bit, I found a very easy solution that might save you 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, depending. I mean, it could save you an hour. It really just depends on your capacity for frustration. But mark the location where the hole should go. So, find the center line from top to bottom of the piece, draw a line there, and then I just, rather than measuring, I just lined them up. But basically, I have little crosshairs, and the very first one, I can just stick it in sideways, 90 degrees, locate it in the hole, drill it, cleco it, and then swing the other end down in place, and it works out perfect. I'll show that in the video I do today. Thanks for being here again. It was a short one.